Hello and welcome to my football show, Football Encyclopedia. This is the home of global football. Now you know what I'm talking about. Well, today's topic is going to be a tribute to the late Mr. Peter Rufai. In case you're wondering who Peter Rufai is, I'll let you know today that Peter Rufai is Nigeria's ex-international goalkeeping legend. Yes, that's who Peter Rufai is. Nigeria's Green Eagles, Super Eagles, ex-international legendary goalkeeper. And the topic for today is a tribute to the late Mr. Peter Rufai. People have to understand that before Peter Rufai became very popular in Nigeria as a country, before he became Nigeria's #1, there was even a great goalkeeper than Peter Rufai who goes by the name of Emmanuel Okala. And I think Emmanuel Okala was Nigeria's goalkeeper in the 70s. So if you think of 1975, 1973, 1978, when Nigeria were knocked out of the World Cup preliminaries, they didn't make it because I think they got beaten by Tunisia. Nigeria's goalkeeper then was called Emmanuel Okala. So the point I'm trying to make here is there's been goalkeepers before the legendary Peter Rufai. So in the 70s, Peter Rufai wasn't Nigeria's goalkeeper. Peter Rufai became Nigeria's goalkeeper. Peter Rufai became Nigeria's goalkeeper in the early 80s. I would say from about 1982. There's also been another goalkeeper, international Nigerian goalkeeper, who goes by the name of Best Ogedengbe, who was also one of my favorites as well in the early 80s. But he kept on making mistake after mistake and he had to leave. So there's also been a goalkeeper called Aloy Agbo. And Aloy Agbo was a great goalkeeper. I don't know how far he made it, but in Nigeria, he was a top professional goalkeeper. They've also had Agbonibare. Man, Agbonibare was a great goalkeeper in the 80s, the 80s. He was the goalkeeper of, I think, Bendel Insurance. Agbonibare, when he first came out in Nigeria, in the Nigerian league in the 80s, he's probably as good as Peter Rufai, if not even better. But the first time I set my eyes on the legendary goalkeeper, Peter Rufai, was when he made his debut for stationery stores. In those days, in the 80s, mid-80s, I would say Nigeria had one of the best leagues in the world. So you're talking about Leventis United, stationery stores, New Nigerian Bank, ACB, First Bank, what's the other one? Iwanyawo National. You're talking about Raka Rovers. You're talking about Sharks of Port Harcourt. You're talking about Calabar Rovers. That was a massive league. And we all enjoyed it in the 80s. So Peter Rufai, as far as I'm concerned, what makes him an outstanding goalkeeper is his agility and his full length dives and saves. I don't think you heard it. Peter Rufai is second to nobody. when it comes to agility and diving at full length. Wow. No. Peter Rufai is not number one. I see why they call him the legendary Rufai. Rufai! Rufai can dive from the left goal post to the right goal post in the air. What a keeper, make great saves. So Peter Rufai, as a goalkeeper, had great swagger. And I'm not here to overhype Peter Rufai, but when I was a teenager, I saw this with my own eyes. Peter Rufai is definitely a legendary goalkeeper. One of the very best I've ever seen. So I'll go as far as saying Peter Rufai at his best, at his peak, a 27-year-old Peter Rufai was probably one of the best goalkeepers in Africa and in the world. Without a doubt, Peter Rufai was definitely one of the best goalkeepers in Africa and in the world when he was at his peak. Now, the only African goalkeepers that I can compare to Peter Rufai on the international stage, in the 80s, would be Thomas Nkono of Cameroon. They call him Thomas the Cat Nkono. So Nkono went on to have a great career in Spain. He was, without a doubt, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I think he was there in the 1982 World Cup, 86 World Cup, and 1990 World Cup. So Thomas Nkono is also a great Black African goalkeeper. If I'm going to mention goalkeepers that are great, if I'm doing a tribute for the late legendary Peter Rufai, I have to mention the best. Another African goalkeeper that I can compare to the legendary Peter Rufai would be Zaki. You know, this young generation don't even know. These young generations, they know of Buffon, they know of Onana, they know of, I don't even know most of the keepers today. But if you're talking about the great ones of the 80s, wow, the legendary keepers, you gotta talk about Zaki of Morocco. This man carried his country by himself. As you can see, he was so good in goal, they even made him the captain of his country. Now, for a goalkeeper to be the captain of his country, it means you're very special. That's what it means. So I saw Zaki, and he's another one that can do full-length dives and saves. No keepers in the world today can do those kind of things that Rufai and Zaki were doing in the 80s. You know, it's real. It's real. Another keeper that I can compare to Peter Rufai that I've seen, and I think he's a great goalkeeper, would be David Seaman. Yes, I'll say David Seaman. Why? Because I've seen David Seaman in action, and he's another great goalkeeper for Arsenal and England. I think after Peter Shilton, I could easily say that David Seaman is England's best ever goalkeeper. They call him safe hands for a reason. So the legendary Rufai, you will always live in our hearts. Now, another keeper I will compare to Peter Rufai would be the legendary and the best ever Premier League, probably European best ever goalkeeper, would be Peter Schmeichel. I'm sorry to say this, man. Manchester United's finest. Look at that save there. If you're not a top keeper, then you don't come out with saves like this. Look at that. This is what I mean by a full-length dive and a full-length save. And Peter Rufai was doing this in the 80s. So to compare Peter Schmeichel with Peter Rufai tells you how good and how great the legendary Peter Rufai is. Peter Rufai is one of a kind. I think Peter Rufai played in the 1984, I think he played in the 1984 African Nations Cup. That's to go and show you that Peter Rufai has been around for a very long time. Taking over from legendary keepers like Emmanuel Okala, Besto Gedengwe, Wilfred Abonibare, them kind of keepers. It says a lot about you as a keeper. So I'm just here to say that Peter Rufai will always be a goalkeeping legend. And you got to understand that the Nations Cup in the 80s is harder than the Nations Cup of today. So for Peter Rufai to play in the 1984 African Nations Cup with players like Stephen Keshi, Ademola Adesina, possibly, what's that guy's name again? Possibly, I think Humphrey Adebo, they're probably not playing anymore at that time. But maybe Rashidi Yakini. It tells you how legendary a keeper Peter Rufai is. And this Peter Rufai inspired a lot of young kids in Nigeria. And I was one of those young kids. So that's why I don't make a tribute for everybody, but I was inspired 100% by watching the legendary Peter Rufai in the mid-80s in Nigeria. Peter Rufai was born to be Nigeria's #1 goalkeeper, without a doubt. This man's got special qualities when it comes to goalkeeping. He was born to be Nigeria's #1 goalkeeper. Peter Rufai is a Nigerian hero. And Peter Rufai also is Nigeria's #1. I want to say that Nigeria and the world football have really lost a legend. Peter Rufai is an exceptional goalkeeper. Rufai is a great example of how to be a great goalkeeper. Rufai in 1994, I know in the 1994 World Cup in USA, Peter Rufai has gone past his best at that time. I say it again, Peter Rufai has gone past his best in the 1994 World Cup. Yeah, think about this man. This man has been in goal for Nigeria since 1982. So as much as Peter Rufai is a great goalkeeper, in 1994 World Cup in USA, he did a great job for Nigeria, but as far as I'm concerned, he had gone past his best then. So Rufai in 1994 has passed his best, but he was still effective. What a goalkeeper. It's a privilege for me to be doing this tribute to the legendary Peter Rufai. Yeah, I think when Rufai was Nigeria's #1 goalkeeper, I think I was still in primary school. That's how great Peter Rufai was. I want to say, Peter Rufai, rest in peace. You're a legendary goalkeeper. And I want to say, Peter Rufai, the football encyclopedia salutes you, Peter Rufai. Rest in peace forever.